Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. It's just gone 1 o'clock, so I'm just going to give everyone a chance to join. Do feel free to drop into the Q&A box and say hi. We've disabled the chat feature as we've discovered it can cause problems for some people using screen readers. So I'm glad you could all make it today. I can see the numbers going up. So I'll just give it a few more moments for everybody to join. Okay, so I can see a lot more people have joined now, so we're going to make a start. So welcome to the 9th session now in our Accessibility Insights series, where AbilityNet's Head of Digital Inclusion, Robin Christopherson, hosts a monthly online chat with individuals who are each working to improve digital accessibility and digital inclusion. This month, he's chatting to Caroline Casey, who is the founder of the Valuable 500 campaign. I'm Annie Mannion. I'm Digital Communications Manager at AbilityNet, and I'll be running you through today's session. So just to go through a few bits of housekeeping, we have live captions provided today by MyClearText, and you can turn the captions on using the CC option on the control panel. We do have additional captions available via streamtext.net/event=AbilityNet. We have slides available at slideshare.net/AbilityNet and also on our website at abilitynet.org.uk/insights-valuable500. If you have any technical issues and you need to leave early, don't worry. You'll receive an email in a couple of days' time with the transcript, the recording and the slides. And then depending on how you joined the webinar, you'll find a Q&A window. If you want to ask Caroline or Robin any questions, do drop those into the Q&A area for them to address, but they will do that after today's session in a follow-up blog on our website, which will be again at insights-valuable500. And then just lastly, we do have a feedback page you'll be directed to at the end, which invites you to tell us about any future topics you'd like us to cover in our webinars. So do let us know if you can. So now over to Robin and Caroline.
Brilliant. Thanks, Annie. And thank you so much, Caroline, for joining or for agreeing to be grilled today. I mean, chatted to. Caroline is one of my favorite people, guys.
No, you say that to everybody, Robin, come on.
Really pleased to have you on. So yeah, first of all then, the tradition, what have you got beverage-wise to help you get through this ordeal?
Well, it's not an ordeal because you are genuinely one of my favorite people and who always forgives me for being a bit of a Luddite, so thank you. Today, Robin, I did discuss coming to this with an Irish coffee, which would be coffee with a lot of whiskey and cream, but I didn't. I've come with an Irish cup of tea, cup on tea, for a bit of Gaelic there for you, so which I actually do need a lot of today. So yeah, it's tea, sorry, nothing more exciting.
Well, I hope you don't regret going for this, the straight option rather than the more fortifying one. But anyway, yeah, brilliant. I actually haven't got a mug today because I'm fasting at the moment. For my religion, I'm a Baha'i. So yeah, I'm for the first time not able to tell you what I've got. It's usually just a boring cup of tea anyway. So brilliant. Now, first question. The whole remit, the whole point of the Valuable 500 is to encourage accessibility leadership at board level. Tell the audience why it's so important to get buy-in at the highest level, and how does that help accelerate or drive the accessibility agenda forward?
Well, the Valuable 500 really was about breaking the CEO silence on disability inclusion and accessibility and getting the attention of CEOs and leadership accountability. And why it's so important is because we know that two things: culturally, the choices that leaders make affect the cultures of the organizations that they are heads of. And that means how much people are willing to invest and to innovate and to see and to support disability business inclusion. So without that cultural leadership, it's not going to happen in the business. The second thing is there's a really good known expression, leaders make choices, but they also in the shadow and light of a leader. So if a leader is not willing to put that intention into accessibility or give their intentionality, things won't get done, because most of the business will operate to the shadow and the light of a leader. So what a leader puts effort on gets done, and what a leader doesn't care about doesn't get done. And so for us, it's really about getting the leadership attention so that we can really support the business in integrating accessibility and inclusion right across the supply chain, making this strategic, not something that's niche, but it's just the way the business works. And the only way that we can have that happen is if the highest level of the business believes in that and understands it and is willing to be accountable for it. Otherwise, it will be discretionary to other people who are passionate about it, and it will just get left aside when they leave the business.
Absolutely. There are a lot of passionate people within organizations who feel very strongly about inclusive design, about accessibility, but unless you've got that top level, top down approach, then they might not be resourced or supported, etc. So have you got any tangible examples of where this top down approach has led to genuine cultural transformation that you can share?
Well, I think all of us know, and I think your last speaker was Sarah from Apple, and I think this is the best place to point to, whether you loved or loathed Steve Jobs, right in his, right at the center of him was the principles of design for all and inclusive design, creating beautiful products that everybody could use. And so we know so many people with disabilities and their family members often turn to Apple products, but he wasn't designing, or Apple weren't designing them for that reason, but that's just showing the beautiful expression, how universal design can benefit all. And what makes it so compelling is that we know that Apple was one of the first companies in the world to trigger $1 trillion. So it's talking about not only the beauty of putting products in the hands of everyone, but also the business imperative and benefit of that. And I think that's that intersection between the humanity and the business case that is best made, or certainly was pioneered in my mind, by Apple.
Absolutely. And there's certainly no fundamental conflict between inclusive design for people with disabilities and better products for everyone. In fact, they're both pushing in the same direction. So we'll cover a little bit more about how things work within organizations a little bit later on. But we were lucky enough to have an update from you at last TechShare Pro last November about how the Valuable 500 was doing. Have you got an update? And when you finally reach the magic 500, what's next on your on your world domination?
Yeah, well, the Wizard of Oz, curtains open. No, yeah, look, thank you. AbilityNet have been really supportive of us, and we deeply appreciate it. You're teaching us and I think that's the whole point, is all about collaboration. And I think what has made us be sitting here at this moment, as of this morning, with 441 companies joining the Valuable 500, representing 17 million employees, 35 countries, 64 sectors, and the power of 7 trillion in the supply chain. And we're talking huge brands, big brands, and they all have to have over 1,000 employees. And I just want to come back to what you said when we were talking about the very first question. Why is leadership so important? Look, we need to transform our business system, that we are speaking about accessibility and inclusion as just the normal way of doing business, that we are integrating and infusing business accessibility and inclusion mindset and behaviors throughout our business. And that can only happen when we get this leadership. But what's really exciting for us is we started as that campaign, to get leaders to support the business and to resource the business. Now, what we're looking at is we'll be launching phase 2 of the Valuable 500 in literally weeks. And that is activating this very unique community, which is supported by the CEOs, to drive that system change right throughout the business. So it's kind of like getting 500 CEOs in their businesses to hack solutions for integrating disability business inclusion. Like, that's the exciting piece for me. So we're very excited about it. What happens if we get beyond 500? Well, okay, this is a point of discussion, and I'd open this up to everybody. We really want other people's opinions on this. Look, first of all, when we started with 500, everybody said, you're off your mind. Who do you think you are to think you could get 500 CEOs in their businesses? And yes, we were crazy. But look, Isn't the Apple great expression? Those crazy enough to think they change the world, they can. We're going to stop at 500 because actually I want to acknowledge the pioneering leadership of the people within the businesses that have signed. It's a community, and it's a community that we need to work with to scale that change. However, if the community and the CEOs in that community and the leaders in that community say, no, we need 500 plus, then we'll listen to them. But for now, it's to say, here we are, and you'll be getting the announcement on May the 12th or 13th of who's in the 500 and the exciting plans for the future.
Wow, that's brilliant. And that kind of comes to my next question, which is about, follow through. Once people have, sponsored accessibility and digital inclusion and disability awareness at the board level, at the C level, is that just the beginning of the journey? And have you, as an organization, had to follow through to help them with that, the journey that they've embarked upon, to really embed kind of a collective responsibility for owning, the journey right across the organization?
Well, yeah, well, you're right. Listen, accountability is a huge part of this. And how do we ensure that this wasn't, I hate this word, pledge? Okay. Can I just tell you that people ever thought that we were going to create a pledge or some tick box thing? Not at all. Look, when we began this, the idea of breaking the CEO's silence on disability, business inclusion, and accessibility, like that was fairly audacious in itself, and that we could get 500 CEOs' voices and global voices, remember. So if we were to tell them right from the beginning, well, actually, so we have a trick up our sleeve, so we're going to get a campaign, but really what we want to do is create this global community for change, to redesign and re-architect our business systems. Do you think they'd have come on? Probably not. So we always had in the mind that there was going to be a phase 2, but it's slowly, piece by piece. So how the accountability for phase 1, which is the commitments of these companies, is actually our collaborators, our partners like yourselves. We've created this community, been working with multitudes of people around the world who have brought to their companies that they've been working with forward. And so that's a place of accountability. The second is that the companies are posting their commitments on our website so the media can see it, their employees can see it, the public can see it. And we also hold the companies to account. But most importantly, this commitment was signed by a CEO. That's an honor code. So the peers will keep the CEOs to account, right? But the next part of it is so much more important. In a sense, this commitment to get into the community is the very first step. You're absolutely right. It's to whet the appetite, to invite them in. It was the invitation. Now it's about, now what can we do collectively and collaboratively together? I mean, do we have at our hands 500 shortcuts for system change if we share best practice, if we innovate together? What could it look like, the multiplier effect of, for the campaign side, it was get 500 companies to do one individual thing. But what happens if we could get 500 companies to do several different things in the same direction? I mean, is that not the exciting bit? So yes, the campaign was the beginning, and the second case, or the second phase, is transformative system change and nothing less. And we do not apologize for that. And we're creating a family and a community and a super system around the world to support our business leaders doing that.
Yeah, because none of your signatories should object to that, because that's what they've signed up for change, and this is about helping them achieve and realize that transformation.
Well, can I also follow up and saying this is really unusual? What we didn't expect is, and what gave us the courage to do phase 2, aside from the World Economic Forum wanting us to do it, and then we getting the support of the Nippon Foundation and the International Disability Alliance, what's been really interesting, companies have come to us and said, please do another phase, or we've already achieved our commitment, what can we do next? And I just think that was exciting, because they started to feel that they were in a community or a collective for change. They're hungry for phase 2. And so whereas we were a little nervous at the beginning saying, listen, we didn't ask them to sign up for phase 2, it's the opposite. They're pushing and saying, please give us more, please help us more. And remember, we're only at C-suite. Our job is at C-suite. So we're not competing with other things that are in the world. Actually, I hope we're opening up more and more doors for many of our organizations to walk into.
Brilliant. Great answer. And this next question, I don't think you're going to like.
Okay.
As a leader
Hold on, let me have some
yourself-
tea. Let me some tea.
Yeah, go on.
Yes, okay.
So, as a leader yourself, and that's the bit I think that you're going to shrink from because you're so kind of self-effacing, but yeah, as a leader yourself, what tips do you have for other leaders to help drive the accessibility and inclusion agenda? Have you got any top tips?
Well, you see, I guess I'm lucky enough to meet many of those leaders in the space of accessibility who I think everybody knows that I stand back and go, will you teach me? No, truly, because look, I don't ever claim to be anything that I'm not. So what my encouragement is to have a real sense of confidence about the insight that you have. And confidence is different to arrogance, as we know. And I know the leaders around the accessibility space have taken the time to know where I am in that space, to meet me there, to not make me feel, less than. And therefore I get excited in that process of learning. So if you just take that with me and then you think about, okay, how do leaders in this space really accelerate this change, bring it up to the points of power and influence in business? It's exactly the same thing. It's about having the confidence and the insight and the experience and being generous and willing to share it, and not about trying to over intellectualize it or to judge somebody because they don't know. And I think that's really powerful. So for me as a leader, there are a few things. One is, I always hope, and I'm so sorry if anybody's listening to this and I didn't do what I said I'm going to do. I do try. I think we have to stand by what we say we're going to do. And if we don't do it, own it. We need to know when we don't know everything and say, I'm willing to learn. But we also need to have the confidence to share what we do know. And I think that's about creating an energy and excitement around it, and be willing to share again and again and again about what we know. And I think for me, if there's one piece of advice about the courage to lead, I've always been very uncomfortable with this. I always thought the Valuable 500, why did it need a Caroline? And it doesn't have a Caroline. It's got loads and loads and loads of people, but because I think people connect with people. When we're leading, I think leaders who lead with their head and their heart, it's so relevant right now. I think we're going into an era, a decade of disruption of human-centered business. And let's be honest, accessibility is about removing barriers for everyone. And that's a very human heart thing. So I have learned not to apologize for my heart, but always to have the business stats or the science that backs things up. So don't leave one or other at the door, bring them both into the table.
Brilliant answer. And you have brought so much heart to the Valuable 500 campaign.
Well, it has a heart in its logo.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it has. Sorry,
Okay.
it's so Robin, it has a V, and then it has a heart in its logo. That is the other side of the V, which is
Nice.
is the intersection that I keep speaking to. Is for any change to happen, we must bring both. It's left and right brain. It's stats and story, it's head and it's heart, and that's what the logo represents. It's both sides, but it's the intersection of those both two yin and yang is where the sweet spot of, I think, real innovation happens.
That is so That's great. So next question, and it says here, what's your biggest success? But I mean, you might want to say, what's the Valuable 500's greatest success to date? As if, I mean, it might be getting well over 400 organizations to commit to having disability and accessibility on their agenda on a regular basis at C-level. But what is there a big standout thing for you over the last months, many months that you've been pushing forward?
Yeah, I will say there's a few. Launching on the main stage of the World Economic Forum.
Wow.
I mean, against all the odds, after remortgaging a house, after thinking we just couldn't get there, I'm so proud of that moment. I can't tell you. And then we take 2 years on the 29th of January to be the recipient of the biggest singular disability business inclusion grant by the Nippon Foundation for phase 2. I cannot tell you the sense of pride that I had in the team and the partners. Thirdly, big moments for me are when people from the community, and I look, my voice wobbles every time. It's when they kind of say, good job, well done, want to see more. I think that makes me really proud, because I'm part of this community, a community I didn't own that I was part of until 21 years ago. So that makes me very proud, and that I hear members of our team be spoken about in a high regard. That's really important to me. And I think, honestly, I had a really important moment a few weeks ago. I used a wrong expression. I said something like hearing impaired. And somebody picked me up on Twitter, doesn't matter who it was, and they were like, really holding me to account. And I was like, I wrote to them immediately and I went, I'm really sorry. Will you teach me more? I didn't know. I should have known, but I'm just trying to do everything. And I think one of my proudest moments was that moment of, they were like, yeah, of course we'll teach you. You know what I mean? And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I'm learning not to be defensive, and I'm not, taking things personally. And I keep trying to infuse that value in the Valuable 500. We're here to learn, we're here to collaborate. And the more that I see that happen, the more I get proud, because I think that is the thing I'm most proud about, is not only the team, but the collaborators and the people who are willing to help us be better. Wow. I get excited about that.
And making Twitter a nicer place.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I was scared. Like, I'm so worried that I'm going to say something and I'm going to get cancelled out. But then I think a lot of our CEOs and our businesses, honestly, haven't taken on strategically accessibility, and I mean really strategically embedding that mindset and behavior into business, because they're so worried about getting it wrong. And if we don't deal with that, because we have to create space for them to fail, that really does worry me. So I have to live and put myself out and be vulnerable for that, as does the Valuable 500. I can't promise we're going to get it all right. Of course we aren't. But please, like, the moments of when people want to collaborate with us and teach us, I get very proud about that.
Wow. And so, you mentioned about people getting things wrong and being afraid of that. So the last question I gave you was about your, proudest moments or the biggest successes. And the next one is about things that you've got wrong. And, what takeaways what you've learned from that, and whether it could be applied to either the members of the Valuable 500 or, more broadly.
Oh, listen, I'm 50 years old this year, so I'm going to take this one personally first, and to say, I have got more wrong than I've ever got right in my life. But the only thing I could say to anybody just listening, in whatever field of work you do, whatever that you're trying to change, number one, never think that you're insignificant enough to make change happen. And I think that's really important. It's a cliche that's oversaid, but it's true. And I guess I stand here as evidence of that. But the second most thing I can say is never go against your instinct, your gut instinct, ever. Because every time I've listened to somebody else and it goes against my gut instinct, I screw up big time, like big time. And then on the Valuable 500 side, I'll tell you what I feel that I've done wrong. I think at the beginning, I wasn't maybe confident enough. I kind of was nearly so grateful. Do you know what I mean? So grateful that we could do this. And I feel there's a confidence now in our team and the community who surround us and support us. I was always so worried of causing offense or trying to step over. And I think, well, hold on, we were doing a really good thing. And I think maybe I should have been more confident. And as the leader, did I infuse that into the Valuable 500? And then the piece of what we have got wrong maybe we should have gone for the Valuable 1000. I don't know. But I think
you've chosen to stop at 500.
We have, and I think we've done that reason. But there's another great example for me of how you manage getting things wrong, and I think is Jenny Leigh-Fleury and Hector Minto. When I used to send out video files, this is ages ago, and I was very shortly after the Valuable 500 was launched. I would hate to leave anybody out, but I didn't caption. This is before COVID. I didn't caption my videos. And Hector Minto and Neil Milliken from Atos and Jenny were like, Caroline, cut this out. But they didn't mean it in a bad way. And they said, listen, here are the applications you can do. And can I just tell you, I realized it was so much easier. And so I think when you get things wrong, if you're not defensive, but you're willing to try and hear what it is, like I got, like that was like winning the lotto when I worked out I could do it. So it's our relationship with failure is really important, particularly when you're trying to innovate and particularly when you're trying to find change. And you've got to find a good relationship with failure, personally and professionally. And it is up to us in the work we do that we have to allow people to fail. And that means we have to allow ourselves fail too.
Wow, we're running out of time. This is so awful, but okay, a couple more quick ones, if that's all right. So COVID, I mean, this shouldn't be a quick one, really, should it? But anyway, do you think that COVID has impacted the reactions of business leaders to people with disabilities? And has it accelerated or indeed otherwise the role of accessible digital products? I think I know your answer.
I'm going to try to be quick. I honestly can tell you that the business system changed. The system that everybody said couldn't change, it did. So no more excuses, okay? And do I think, look, we were doing brilliant before COVID, I can't deny it, but I think the rationale for why disability, business inclusion, why accessibility is no longer, well, we might do it, it's when you're going to do it. And I think the imperative for it has been really, really underpinned. So that's my sense of it. The second part for me is accessibility has become, I believe, we are now on the path of this being as vital as health and safety in business. I don't think this is ever going to be a choice again, because I have never felt more blind as I have through going through COVID. I've had to reassess how I feel about my vision impairment because of the inaccessibility of an awful lot of the platforms we use. And by the way, the solutions are there.
Yep.
So listen, the solutions are there. It's the intention of the investment of the leadership. Do I think they're starting to get it? Yes, I do. So I choose to see that this is a moment where we hold feet to the fire and say, no more excuses. Systems can change. What's the intention?
Fantastic. So we always, at the end of these fantastic interviews, bring a question that was put from a previous speaker. As if you mentioned, Sarah Herrlinger was last month's speaker, and she had a comment for you, or a question, in fact. What tech, and I know you said you were a Luddite at the beginning, but you've also said that, you're having to, tech does play a very important role. So yeah, what tech have you personally had to rely on most in 2020 and all that COVID has brought?
Well, look, no doubt, from a tech perspective, like everybody else, I have been spending up to 10 to 12 hours on Zoom, because obviously we're doing a campaign and we're doing events. So all of the online platforms have been incredibly important to me. Actually, I will say Zoom is probably my easiest. But then Google has been fabulous because it does the auto captioning as well. But what I will say, because I can't see chat, because I can't see things, do you know what I have used? Is my phone, my smartphone, my Apple smartphone, in conjunction with Zoom. And I go on to Zooms and say, I can't see what you have, so I'm going to use my phone to enlarge images or pictures, or to see stuff. So I've become quite creative that way. And that has become, like, I couldn't do what I do without my phone helping me.
I think she's gonna love that answer.
Well, yeah.
And
Sarah, will you talk to me, please? I want to talk to you.
Yes. Okay, then we can make that happen. I'm sure. Well, you guys, I'm sure, have that power as well. But okay, final question is what you will put to next month's speaker, who happens to be someone from the BBC, Emma Pratt-Richins, who is a specialist in accessibility at the Beeb. So what would you like to pass on to
Emma, so this is my question to you. For actually, BBC are one of the valuable 500 and will be very much playing a significant role in phase 2. My biggest thing for Emma is, where are we going to see that? Where's the power shift for the change in representation? Is it in front of the camera or is it behind the camera? And what is BBC doing? Or is it both? Because I guess it's both, but what is BBC's plans in front and behind the camera to strategically integrate better representation for people with disabilities?
Love it. Caroline, thank you so much. Brilliant. Absolute pleasure as always. Thanks for all of those insights, and I'll pass back to Annie. Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Caroline and Robin. There are lots of questions that have come through that we hope to answer in the next few days. You'll receive an email on Thursday with a link to access them. And I just wanted to share a bit more information that might be of interest to you. We also run online training sessions on digital accessibility, and you can find out more at abilitynet.org.uk/training. And I'm also pleased to offer you a 10% off discount code as a registrant of this webinar, which is AbilityNet webinar 1010. And the training courses we have are available for various roles. And this week's courses coming up on Wednesday, we've got how to deliver and sustain accessible digital learning. And that's a new course aimed at higher and further education professionals. And then on Thursday, we have our embedding accessibility at every stage of your project course. And then just finally, you can also sign up to our newsletter for the latest announcements about digital accessibility, visit our YouTube channel and download our podcast. And we have a suite of accessibility services as well. And don't forget about our next webinars. So as we just mentioned, we've got our next Accessibility Insights session with Emma Pratt-Richards of the BBC coming up on the 6th of April. And you can sign up for that at abilitynet.org.uk/webinars. So finally, just thanks again, Caroline and Robin and everyone that's joined us. And please do complete the feedback form that you'll be directed to at the end, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.